Okay, good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome you today to our webinar and thank you for taking time this afternoon to be with us. As you can see, my name is Mike Erickson. I'm the Director of Finance and Business Development for Community Green Energy. Community Green Energy is a developer and financer of renewable energy and energy efficiency projects nationwide. And we do have a specific focus on today's topic, which is community solar. And we're going to talk a little bit about how condo associations and entities like condo associations can look closer into going solar. Okay, as I mentioned, we're going to talk a little bit about solar in general and segue that into programs that can be very beneficial for condo associations and their residents. For the most part, as well from statistics, solar in America is for real. As you can see by this slide, in 2014 alone, there were 6,201 megawatts, or a little over 6 gigawatts of solar installed in the USA. That is 12 times the amount of all solar that was installed just 5 years ago, back in 2009. So approximately a 200% annual increase. So as of Q2 of this year, it is estimated that we are now up to, in the USA, 22.7 gigawatts of solar energy installed. And solar energy is by far the largest generation assets that have been installed in the US in recent years. Of those responding to surveys of choice, those that said that they would prefer to use renewable energy, by far, 85% of those who would choose renewable energy would choose to go solar. It is one of the most popular ways of being able to make your choice and go to green energy. So as you can see, there's a lot of momentum still in what's available. The question is, how do we get more to do it? But even so, so far in the U.S. today, the total number of homes and businesses that have installed solar is over 800,000 locations. And just in 2015 alone, and we're not done yet, 250,000 were added this year. So by far, again, this is one of the most up and coming and popular ways of getting renewable energy as a choice for those who would like to do it. But yet, with these kind of numbers, solar being chosen by homes and businesses are those who are capable of putting it on their locations, whether it's their roof or their grounds. That still leaves 70 to 75% of all those in the USA unsuitable or not capable of putting solar on their own premises. So those people are in a position to either try to figure out how to go solar or simply to watch others do it, which has some consequences. For example, how does that leave all the residents in buildings like condo associations? Fact is that most people pay approximately $50 to $80 per year in utility charges, surcharges on your bill that recover renewable energy and energy efficiency losses. Now that's everybody, whether you participate in renewable energy on your own or you don't. It's not to say that there aren't any benefits. There are. Things that are inherent in some benefit of solar are things like avoided infrastructure upgrades if more regional generation is put on the grid. And that also improves capacity, and demand benefits. So indirectly, many people or most people are getting some sort of benefits, but those are particularly hard to monetize, especially for those people who are not able to do solar on their own premises. So that leaves all of the economic benefits that basically go to those who can put solar on their roof. So that begs the question, how can condos associations and residences like condo associations go solar? Well, let's look at it, though, because the why you would go solar may show you exactly how you can go solar. First and foremost, of course, the cost of solar energy, and it comes down and it reaches grid parity. There is energy cost savings. average annual to a ratepayer who is able to put solar on their own roof can save potentially up to 70% annually over their costs, with paybacks then as little as 7 to 8 years for those homeowners who prefer to pay for their solar systems in cash. Recent statistics show that most people who do and businesses who do put solar on their premises are really doing it by cash, and I've been more on the leasing end of it. Savings that those who would do it under a PPA or a lease would probably begin at about 15 to 35% savings annually, and those typically provide a long-term hedge, so those savings can grow. So energy cost savings is a major element in making a decision why you should go solar. People who do go solar and buildings that do go solar are really making a sustainable commitment to renewable energy, whether it's just for their own interests in doing so, but in terms of the environment, et cetera, and forth, it's also a very, very large driver of why to go solar. For places like condo associations, it shows a sign not only of your commitment, but that you're a differentiation. And it is truly a statement that says that this location is committed to renewable energy, the environment, and all of the benefits that individuals and the entities get out of that, out of solar. There's another issue regarding this too for places like condo associations. Statistics have revealed that for every dollar that a building reduces its energy expense, it improves the value of the building by $20. That's huge. So if you have a 200 kW system on your roof or grounds that generates $6,400 annually in energy savings, the value of your building just was increased by $128,000. And because these are long-term hedges, because the electricity produced is at a lower fixed cost over the term than what you were doing from grid, the value of the building then goes up as your energy dollars savings increase along with that hedge. And as a matter of fact, if you just take a 3.5% average annual increase, the value of the building toward the end of 20 years has increased by $250,000. And it's significant in terms of helping or justifying recovering costs of either going solar or in participating in solar. So let's get back to that question. How can condo associations solar? Suppose you had a way to go solar that would do many things all at one time, that the association as an entity would benefit first. Secondly, that the property values of your association would go up simply by putting solar on and saving money, as we just went over the statistics show. And finally, installation, have your residents and owners of the association individually from that. Well, there is a way to do that, and it's a perfect environment to look at only solar, but looking and to do a program like community solar. What is the greater value and what is community solar for condo associations? Briefly, here's how it goes. The association or the building hosts the solar array. The building may use the energy that is generated on the roof, or it might be a situation where that energy goes directly to the grid. Either way, a solar garden operator and a developer like Community Green Energy would then transform that additional solar array into a community solar garden, offering condo owners and residents the opportunity to participate and buy into that solar array. By creating this community solar concept where not only can the building profit or save money by using the energy, and the condo owners having the ability to participate in that savings as well, you also increase the value of your property, as we talked about. So all three of these potentials and benefits are created by one project. There are two different ways actually to do it at this point in time. Let's go through those. And one of them is one that Community Green Energy designed, which is designed around rules and regulations for net metering, and we just simply call it our net metering model. What that is a developer like Community Green Energy works with a host site to build, finance, own and operate the solar array on the premises, where the host entity uses that energy behind the meter and purchases that energy versus from the grid or a utility or supplier under a long-term PPA. That is your traditional third-party owned solar installation and solar project. Community Green Energy being the owner-operator, the investor, if you will. So the amount of energy or the energy that's purchased is paid to Community Green Energy as the investor, owner-operator. At this point, what Community Green Energy would do as the operator is transform this particular project into a community solar garden, where Community Green Energy would promote to residents as subscribers to the solar garden who would actually purchase solar panels or solar panel rights of ownership on the system that could be located on their own roof, whether it feeds a common meter in the building or goes to the grid. The residents who pay in Community Green Energy for those panels will then receive payments to their electric bill or bill credits, depending on what kind of circumstance and program that the state has for community solar. So we add into the fact that the solar system is on the roof benefiting the entity, and now we create a way that the residents are capable of purchasing and buying into that own solar garden for their own additional. There's one other model, and it's based on the states that have enacted state laws for community solar, and it's based on virtual net metering. And most of those systems, as you will see, Community Green Energy developer would do the same thing. We would own, initially, we would own and operate a host entity's solar array. But in this instance, the solar array is typically connected directly to the power grid and not on your, not behind the host site's commercial meter. So this goes directly to the local utility, who provides bill credits to residents that and participants that Community Green Energy, as the solar garden operator, would seek and subscribe, and who then would pay for that power. That payment would be an upfront charge, or in the newer model, and which is maybe becoming more standard, like New York, Minnesota, Maryland is coming out with a new program where they would pay for the energy produced and typically get a higher bill credit for the value of solar that is part of the state's program. So those are basically the two models. I know they may be confusing a little bit, but operators like Community Green Energy, who designed our unique model for the net metering concept versus the virtual net metering model, has the ability to provide both solutions to condo associations and their buildings and residents in the best way that it fits. So that would be something that would be a discovery process during the development agreement of what is the best way to do this. I'm going to talk a little bit about the importance of using a third party, or the benefit or value of using a third party. The main thing is that, and still this through the rest of this year, there are tax credits that have really benefited the growth of solar in the U.S. That 30% tax credit with depreciation is attractive for many outsiders. It has reduced the cost of putting solar in over the last 5 years, and as well as reducing the cost for those who wish to purchase and put it on their own roofs, and even for community garden subscribers. That's a big 30% chunk that makes it very, very attractive and makes many projects viable. Secondly, in using a third party, rather than tackling this yourself, there is no upfront capital expense. It's mostly what we've discussed with many potential hosts as sweat equity. We need your help in obviously assessing the grounds, finding out usage rates, and coming up with a good, viable program for the host site. But that's typically done at the operator's and the developer's expense in terms of out-of-pocket costs, and there's nothing that is required by the host for that development. Finally, once the system is installed, it is completely the liability of the operator owner for operations and maintenance and any other expense or liability for that, and for if it's going to end up being a community solar garden program, for administration of that program, right along with the operation and maintenance of the system. So going a third party is a very, very simple and cost-effective way of getting exactly what you want. Being a host, of course, there are other considerations that I want to make you aware of. Typically, condo associations are going to be in areas that are just occupied by buildings. There's not a lot of ground space. So most of you will have to be looking at your roof. First of all, is there enough roof space? A lot of equipment sometimes goes on roofs, especially for older buildings. So you need to look at that. The available roof space we need typically for solar, and if this helps you get an idea of what you could put on your roof. We need 110 square feet by rule of thumb per kilowatt of solar installed, and there's a factor we use if there's a lot of rooftop HVAC equipment, etc., and so forth. But with a good, fairly clean roof, it's 110 square feet per kilowatt of the thing. Another thing you need to look at is your roof age. Roofs don't last forever, and neither do solar systems, but you want to try to make those be as compatible in their life cycle as possible. Older roof, if you're probably going to need to take a look at reinforcing or doing a new roof right along with putting solar on. The ages, if you're within your first 5 years of a 20 or 25 year lifetime or a warranty period on a new roof, that's pretty good, because that's typically something that means that it's suitable, because most power purchase agreements, if that's the route that this goes, or even community solar state programs, are about a 20-year program. So that would kind of match the availability or the suitability of the roof and its condition. But it's important to understand that. If the roofs are 15 to 20 plus years old, then there are issues that need to be taken into account, and you need to discuss that with your developer. In many cases where there aren't community solar garden laws and virtual net metering use rules and regs, the project will be probably developed as a behind-the-meter project on the condo association. It would be behind the meter, so we're going to kind of look at the highest usage common meter for the buildings that it would go behind. So in a sense, for this type of a project, we would want to make sure that the association's building consumes all of the energy and purchases under the PPA. In this particular model, as if you recall in the diagram, you would pay community green energy under that, and that net income would then be distributed to community solar subscribers rather than virtual credits on their bill. So that's when the common meter is when we look to see that there is one there that can consume all the energy for the size of the system that can go on your roof. A couple more things that I would want to tell you to keep in mind. You need to consider all of the options that are available to you, and whatever proposal or proposition that comes from it is, I just want you to make sure that you understand, all of the things that are included in that and what the program is. Understand it completely. The more you do going into it, and they can be complicated, but they try to be they're trying to be as simple and as transparent as possible. But I just want to suggest that you make sure that you understand the proposition completely. In our experience in working with condo associations, you got committees and you got boards, and if we know you need to get buy-in from all of those who would be affected by this, and truly, if they can all get together at the same time to understand what the proposition is, it eliminates or greatly reduces miscommunication. A developer presentation to a representative of the board or a committee, to a committee, to the board. It's just something that would be good to have somebody represented by all of these and get through it together. It cuts down on time, and more of the project is understood. Doing solar is possible on condo associations. Yes, we need space for the proper size of the project. But as mentioned, community solar gardens are a perfect fit for condo associations anyone who has what I would say considered a captive audience or a captive subscriber base, and for those who would opt to become part of it. So doing solar on a condo association roof becomes a community solar project very easy. And not only does the building profit from solar energy savings at common meters, the opportunity to buy into that with the residents and condo owners to participate in that revenue stream as if they were putting it on their own roof. This is democratizing solar, getting everyone involved who would like to be involved, and everyone benefiting from doing it. So if you, in summary, for condo associations, you can go solar. And if you can, after assessing all of the things you need to do, perhaps you want to make it a community solar, because it just may be the best way for you to go. That concludes my presentation. I hope that has stirred some interest. But if you have some questions that are on your mind, we'll take a few minutes here, and I'll see if anyone does, and be glad to answer any of those. In the meantime, I have a question here. Any liability to the association getting subscribers for its project? Good question. No, there is no liability to the association as an entity. There are two things going on here. Number one, there's an agreement with the host site. The host site for a community solar project can either be a PPA where you consume the energy, or it could be simply a site lease. When that energy goes directly to the grid, the host site needs to be incented to do so. But that is the only thing that the association would be responsible or liable for in administering, or the obligations of the site lease, and or the obligations and liabilities under the power purchase agreement. The agreements for the subscribers are strictly between the solar garden operator, which would be Community Green Energy, and the individual. That's a totally separate agreement with no recourse or direct access, non-contracting parties in the subscription agreements. So there is a wall between that, and the association is not liable going forward for any of that. That includes the term of the contract and any obligations that CGE as the operator would have to subscribers during the term. Okay, that's the only question that came in at this time. If you do have others, feel free to forward them via email or call me when I can be of assistance. Thank you again for being with us, and we hope you have a great day.